morning, Facebook. We are getting ready to start. Guest will be here shortly. The show will start in a couple minutes.
Say hello in your mic.
Hello, Jerry. Can you hear me now? All right. Okay. Test, test, test. All right. Got it. Morning, everyone. My guest is en route. We'll be here momentarily, or in at least a couple minutes, hopefully. Otherwise, it'll just be me. He should be here any minute. 8:01. Morning, Katie. Good to have you back on the show. Just talk to someone until the guests arrive. We here go on the air at about 8:05, so they're running a few commercials right now, so we're just kind of waiting.
I think I'm going to get another one and just walk around like
I think that's a good idea. Check that front door.
Sorry?
Check the front door.
Oh, didn't hear it though. Yeah, I'll wait for the
All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. On Facebook, we've got our guest en route. Should be here in a couple minutes. We always have about 5 minutes of commercials and such before we get started. So we are presently in commercial mode, going live at about 8:05 or so. There he is.
There we go. We're all set.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Sorry about that.
Let's have some water too if you want. No worries. We have like a minute and a half, so you're good.
What's that?
We got like a minute and a half, so
Oh, okay.
all kinds of time. What contact info do you want to give out? Phone number, email? Or
408
Okay.
839
Okay.
8033.
Okay.
And email is Manvir, MANVIR, at Zennify, with 2 N's, ify.com.
You got it.
Okay.
You got here.
Got here.
With like a minute to spare.
It's beautiful.
Fine.
And we've done it before, so I figured.
Yeah, you've been.
And I don't know if this
it's all
stuff was helpful, but
Yeah.
there's some good stuff in
That's
here.
good. That's kind of part of what I want to cover. Plus, like you said, the new space. And so.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting.
And I saw on LinkedIn that you guys have grown. Looks like from 16 to 32 people in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
So-
we're actually just about to hit 40.
So
we're
that's
hiring,
good stuff to talk about as
Yeah,
well.
we're hiring like 3 or 4 people probably a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's great.
This phone down here, turn the volume down.
All right, so let me move this just a little bit to capture a little more of you, a little less of me. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5 FM. Mark Bellows here, your host for this week's show of Beyond the Numbers. Beyond the Numbers is a business talk show where we bring in various guests to discuss their businesses, what it is that's made them successful, how they're growing, what's going on with their business, that sort of thing. A lot of times I like to get the backstory, so we've got a guest coming on in a few minutes here. We'll get his story, and it's an interesting one because his company had a choice of places to locate their headquarters, and they decided to put him here in Sacramento, and they've had some great growth. So we're going to hear about that story in a couple of minutes. I'm a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen, a national CPA firm with offices here and an office here in Roseville, and that's where I sit. That's my location. I work with manufacturers and distributors, real estate developers and investors, and some various subcontractors and a few other type service businesses, tax planning, tax strategy, that sort of thing. And we just rolled off a tax season a few weeks ago, and now we're busy trying to plan for 2018, the new tax law, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA, and the impact that's going to have on people in 2018 and later. And so that tax planning and the strategy is a little tricky this year because we still have a lot of unknowns. So we're doing the best we can, and as more is revealed, the better our planning can get. There are a couple things I've got coming up here in the next couple weeks I want to mention before we get to the guest. One is that tomorrow, Roseville 2018, out at the Placer County Fairgrounds, the newly revamped Placer County Fairgrounds. So hopefully people can make it up there. One of the things that CELA has done over the years is we've sponsored various awards. We have an Entrepreneur Award, a Business Person of the Year Award, and a Young Professional of the Year Award. Also on Thursday, don't forget, it's Big Day of Giving. Big Day of Giving, so that's a day that local areas or local charities here in the Sacramento area all get together and have a massive social media and local publicity push to try to raise funds. So lots of ways to give money on Big Day Giving. You can give it in cash, credit card, checks. You can do it online, lots of apps, etc. So be sure to look up BDOG, Big Day of Giving 2018, which is Thursday. Also Friday, Chipping Away at Childhood Cancer. One of the boards I sit on is it's Keaton Childhood Cancer Awareness, KCCA, and they're having a fundraiser Friday, Chipping Away at Childhood Cancer. Be up there on at Catabadera on Friday at 8. Be a good time. And then the UCP Humanitarian Dinner is May 17th. downtown at the Hyatt, and it has got Ann Madden Rice is this year's Humanitarian of the Year. Ann Madden Rice runs the UC Davis Med Center. So I hope to see everyone out at those events. And now I'd like to introduce our guest today, who's someone we had on the show back in, I think, November. And he's back, and a lot's happened since then. So looking forward to catching up with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Good, good. Welcome back to the show. So tell us, for those that didn't listen to the show or don't remember or whatever, why don't you tell us about what Zennify does?
So thanks, Mark, for having me here. So Zennify is essentially an IT consulting and integration services firm. So when organizations are going through, sort of massive transformations or need to innovate around, sales or getting, better engaged with their customers, they look to solutions like Salesforce.com,
right,
which is a very popular and fast growth CRM platform. And we essentially would consult around that, deploy that, provide all the kind of necessary services to make sure that that's a successful implementation. We came up with the name Zennify. The idea behind Zennify is that IT projects can be kind of chaotic and stressful, and we like to bring the Zen to that environment.
Okay, so how long ago did you guys start Zennify?
We started the firm roughly 4 years ago. We were operating under a different brand name at that time. And we sort of repositioned ourselves, last summer. And so things really took off, I'd say last year.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And so you work around CRM platforms like Salesforce. Are there other platforms as well? Or mainly Salesforce?
Mainly Salesforce, but with Salesforce it's there's an ecosystem. So, if you take other apps like, DocuSign, for example, or even other cloud environments like Amazon Web Services, they all play together, work together very well, and typically when we work with a client, we'll sort of, bring all those things together in the form of like integration services.
Okay. So what did you do 4 years ago before Zennify started? What were you doing?
Well, we were, doing the corporate thing. I was at a large corporate firm for almost 17 years.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we essentially learned, about technologies like Salesforce.com and sort of built that expertise. And we had an opportunity to kind of go for it and jump off the deep end. That firm was kind of going through some tough times, and so the timing was about right to sort of take that chance and kind of do what we learned at that firm and really apply that to other organizations.
And so how did you get your start? How did you guys get started?
The Big Start's an interesting story. We were at the firm I was at. It's a large computing company. We were doing technology, hardware in the healthcare arena, and so a few of us were invited to work in some of the developing nations like Haiti and Kenya. And in Haiti in particular, they had a really epidemic problem around vaccine spoilage.
Right.
So we spent some time out there, and about a year before we were there, or maybe 2 years before, there was a large earthquake, and it was a devastating earthquake, caused a lot of damage to the country logistically, and so at that time, that country via Salesforce was awarded free licenses from Salesforce for 10 years, which is a huge value. Licenses can go upwards to $150 per user per month. And we knew Salesforce, and we kind of spent enough time looking at their situation with the vaccines and really determined that Salesforce would be a fantastic solution for them. And we created a remote temperature vaccine monitoring system, leveraging the cloud in Salesforce, and that was a big hit. And that really put us on the map and put us on the big stage and kind of gave us that push to get this company started and get it going.
So you used Salesforce as a way to track the temperature of vaccines.
Yeah, it was
a very interesting story.
It is, and it saves lives, which is probably the best part.
Yeah. So what would it do? Would it send an alert when the temperature got to be above a certain threshold, or how would it work?
Correct. So vaccines need to be maintained within a certain temperature guideline, and so when they're typically stored in refrigerators, and so the monitoring devices are in the fridges, and so essentially, to your point, an alert is sent to a local UNICEF or Ministry of Health worker when something gets out of whack. Before that, the vaccines would just spoil.
Right.
So now you have timely information and you have immediate response to diagnose the problem and determine what to do from there.
And so you guys built that program? Is that
correct? Okay. Yeah, we built the solution itself. Kind of end to end from the mobile device aspect through the actual device that goes in the fridge, all the way to kind of the reporting and the dashboards that give you that sort of countrywide view of where the problems are, where resolutions are happening, and kind of that whole master dashboard.
Okay. Well, that's a fascinating story. I think to go from Salesforce to vaccine tracking of temperature, so to avoid spoilage. We're looking forward to hear more of the story of where you guys went from there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify. So who would the alerts go to?
They go to the so you've got UNICEF workers and Ministry of Health workers. They're kind of technicians out in the field, and once they get the information, they would go out to the clinics and sort of inspect the refrigerators and determine, what do we need to do? Is the refrigerator not packed properly? Is there a propane issue? Because typically they're propane-driven fridges.
Okay.
Or is there some kind of problem? And so that was the problem. Is they just weren't getting to the issue fast enough. And once the vaccines spoil, they spoil.
There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And we kind of started in that healthcare space, and now we've expanded out, but healthcare has a ton of reform that needs to happen. So leveraging kind of those same concepts.
Right.
So that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm yelling. No. Go ahead.
That business event out at Placer, is that's sponsored by you guys, or is
No, it's the Roseville Chamber of Commerce.
They sponsor chamber event. Okay.
So, yeah, so they have for maybe a couple hours they'll have booths and people manning booths for various companies, and they have a lunch program.
Okay.
We're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. Manvir and I were just talking during the break. So. So to finish up the story, so you guys were working with them to develop this platform and enable them to track the temperatures of the vaccines, and then where did it go from there?
So once you have a compelling success such as that one in Haiti, Salesforce was super interested in it, and they gave us a ton of exposure. Kind of put us on the grand stage at their big event in Dreamforce.
Okay, what year was that?
That would have been 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, 2012. And from there, we made the decision to kind of go, let's become a full-blown sort of Salesforce solutions implementation partner, and kind of in that healthcare space. And eventually we broadened out. After you have a few of these successful projects, you come to find that you see common problems across other industries as well. So now we're doing a lot of work in financial services, for example, where it's a common problem around data.
Right.
Folks not being able to get to the data they need in a timely basis because data's sitting across 20 or 30 different disparate systems.
Right.
And so Salesforce is a great way to sort of bring all that information together in an easy to use interface via mobile phone or PC to help that individual make sense of that data and do what they need to do.
So that's where you guys have gone with Zennify?
Yes, more or less.
Okay.
We're doing a lot of business with banks, wealth management firms, mortgage firms, around that data challenge and that user interface challenge. And we're also continuing to do work in the healthcare space, and even getting into some interesting industries like agriculture, where again you've got very similar issues where you've got again data in different places, and I need to be able to centralize that information and use it in a way that helps me run my business.
So take us through, if you would, the process where you guys were in this, I keep saying you guys, so it's you and a partner, or
Correct. Nathan Mueller is my business partner, and he actually is out of our Boise office.
Okay.
So we have our Boise office and the Sacramento office.
And did you and Nathan work together at this prior firm?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys worked at the prior firm.
Yeah.
You did the vaccine with Haiti and had success there. So how did you guys get to the point where you decided we want to go out on our own?
Well, Nathan's a young kind of entrepreneur, risky type. I'm a little more conservative.
So it's good to have the two.
Yeah, it's like kind of the yin and the yang.
Right.
And so, he kind of consulted with me and said, "Hey, I think we have a big opportunity, and what do you think?" And so then we just started the planning phases. And I have a financial background, actually, like yourself. I wear many hats, but one of my hats is the CFO.
Okay.
So, just how much money do we need? How much money can we make? What's our projections? Do we need, to lend and all those things? So, going through all those things, it's helpful when you have that background. And Nathan is an incredible, sales leader and overall kind of strategic leader. So the two of us work really well together, and we've been able to use our strengths to, make this happen.
Right. So you guys decided in around 2014?
Yes.
To go out on your own?
It was probably more like 2013
Okay.
is when we made the full blown, commitment to go for it. Where you leave behind everything, you kind of leave your day job,
Yeah.
and you go in the hole for a while. You hunker down, tap into the 401k, tap into the kids' education funds. You don't take trips, you don't buy cars.
Right.
But I'm proud to say that we're up to almost 40 people, and we've never missed a payroll. We've never had an employee not get paid, and so we were always able to keep things afloat. And now we're actually thriving.
That's great. That's great. So you guys put together the business plan,
Correct.
right? And then you borrowed from various personal assets. Did you also go out and get any outside lending or financing?
We did. We got a couple lines of credit and some other private money to just keep us afloat and have those buffers for those times when clients don't pay, which happens from time to time. But we're at a point now where the scale and the velocity of the deals and the transactions puts us in a good shape. We're completely bootstrapped at this point. We don't have investment money into the firm. It's something that we're exploring this year as a possibility as we look to double in size.
Yeah. So did you guys start off in Boise?
Yeah, initially it was, we had sort of a small office in Boise, and it was kind of like, where does the business take off faster? And Boise took off faster. We won some local business there. Simplot is probably one of our largest customers. They're one of the largest agriculture potato companies in the world. They do $1 billion alone, I think, with McDonald's.
Wow.
So they're pretty massive, and we built some great solutions for them, and that really kind of helps set the foundation.
What type of solution did you build for them? Maybe give us an example.
It's a sales solution, so they've got distributors and retail outlets all over the world, and they need to be able to manage that distribution and that supply chain from a sales perspective, and they really didn't have a robust sales management system, and so we really built that whole kind of platform out for them.
How long did that project take?
It took about 6 months, but what ends up happening is when you do a good job, in that first implementation, then the client becomes really comfortable with you, and the client wants to do ongoing innovation. And so we're continually kind of in an agile fashion doing innovation projects for them on an ongoing basis, and expect that to continue.
Okay, so you started with you two, right? Did you hire anybody at the beginning, or was it just you two?
We had a couple hires. We had a couple hires in Boise. One of the guys, when you don't have the money, you have to be very creative with how you kind of staff up. And we have some interesting guys. One of our favorite stories is an individual out of Boise, Sean Murray. He was actually a pizza kitchen manager for about 10 years, and we heard he was sort of interested in working for us. The pizza joint was across the street from the office, and Salesforce is an interesting platform. You don't necessarily need a technical background and degree to learn it, and he was very eager, and so we kind of gave him an opportunity, and he passed a bunch of certifications, and right now he's one of our top consultants. So he went from just 2 years ago working in managing the kitchen to now he's one of our top consultants working with big clients. So it's pretty amazing what you can do
that's
if you
a great
have the
story.
opportunity.
So you guys you started with a couple of people, and then you got a few more contracts, and then decided to start to grow. So when did you really start growing your employees?
I'd say we really hit our stride, midway through last year, where we scaled up enough to the point where we actually had management, a management team come in, and so now we have, like, for example, a vice president of delivery, and we have directors with management, responsibilities. We actually have an org chart for the first time as of the beginning of this year. So midway through last year is when we really hit that point of growth and scale, where we started to build that management infrastructure.
And so So you're growing, and you guys were still all in Boise at the time?
No, we had a few folks here as well,
Okay.
But we were kind of in a remote capacity. I found a super talented guy out here, a technical architect, Sam Kerr, and he and I were kind of holding down the fort here, and we, as of January, went for a referral office and have started to build out our team here.
And so what made you guys, I know you guys were deciding between where to build out the team, more so in Boise or Sacramento. So what made you decide Sacramento?
It was actually a few cities we considered. There was Salt Lake City, we considered Dallas, Denver, and it really became a function of where are you winning business and where are you finding talent, and how fast and efficiently you're activating that talent to manage that business. And here in Sacramento, we had incredible success with Sam and a few other folks that they just won the race at that point. And I was introduced through Greater Sacramento Economic Council and Barry Broom and Neil Best and the team to Sacramento State University and their computer science department, and just various other channels. And I pretty quickly concluded that there's a strong amount of technical people out here that are looking for an opportunity like this to work for a company like Zennify. And here in California, we just have a larger opportunity in terms of the client base,
right.
Especially given the proximity to the Bay Area, Southern California. So we're winning a lot of business in those regions, and the overall market size there is so significant that it just made logical sense to build out here at SAC. Right.
And so you guys have grown. You started out with whatever 4 or so employees a couple years ago. Now you're up to almost 40.
Yeah, by December we'll be at probably 40, turning the corner to 42, 43. We're hiring probably 3-4 people a month.
That's great. What types of what levels of people are you hiring?
Mostly, I'd say, actually it's a balance. There's technical folks like here in Sacramento. We're finding and looking for, like, for example, developers, folks that have Java experience or Salesforce experience, some college grads, some experienced hires. But we're also hiring consultants and business analysts. And one of the other areas that we found where we're having success is individuals that are working for consulting firms or have consulting experience working with the state of California.
Okay.
And so when you work with the state of California, a large public sector entity, there's a lot of complexity that you have to do, a lot of detailed documentation and business requirements.
Sure.
So taking those folks and sort of repositioning them to private sector has been really successful. I think those folks find it almost easy dealing with private sector versus public sector. So that's been really successful for us as well.
That's interesting. Do you guys do any public sector work?
We do. We have a few projects. Our most successful project and client is Covered California,
okay.
Which is kind of correlated to the Department of Health, and we're doing some awesome innovative things with them. Their mission really is to help ensure maximum healthcare coverage for the residents of California, and we're help building out systems that enable them to do that.
Web-based, app-based, that sort of thing?
Correct,
okay.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, today, last year before, you have a lot of paper-based processes, folks calling in, you've got, again, information in different places, and so it's hard to sort of manage all that given a state the size of California and the number of people that did not have insurance coverage. So these guys at Cover California did an amazing job of moving the needle and increasing that percentage of coverage, but they're at a point where they need to do it with less human sort of, manpower and really automate those processes so that they can continue to scale.
Well, my wife and I, and our youngest daughter just got a car, and so my wife went and registered the car at the DMV yesterday, Monday, I think. Anyway, we were talking about how much more automated the DMV could get, and so maybe you guys could pick up that work at some point, because that's one where it's just there's so much paper and there's so much manpower, and you think, God, this could be so much more automated.
I would agree 1,000%.
Yeah. So that's great that at least Cover California has gone down that road.
Yes.
They touch so many people within the state.
They do. They're trailblazer.
Yeah.
They're trailblazers. So they're getting a lot of exposure and attention now for the success they've had. And so that's what the state needs, is a few of those examples of where you've had a successful transformation. unfortunately, the news that gets in the press about public sector IT projects is oftentimes failures.
Of course, yeah.
And here you have a success,
Yeah.
and and so they're getting some coverage of that, and that's exactly what we need as citizens and as professionals working with the state.
Yeah. Anything that could make the state or the state various agencies more efficient
Absolutely,
is a win for all of us.
huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's working out for you guys. And
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys are helping him out. It's good for us as taxpayers. All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify.
They're actually right around the corner from here.
All right, is that right?
California, yeah, they're great. But they're pseudo-government, so
That helps.
they're self-funded through their processes they have with the carriers and stuff
Right.
like that. So they don't rely upon as much of the Obamacare, that whole program, and that's
Yeah.
why they've continued to thrive.
That's good. So what all anything you want to particularly?
I think one interesting topic for everybody, I think two topics that could be interesting. One is it's just the whole office selection and how that
Yeah.
works, and how a company how the city's been so great to work with to
Yeah.
get that going.
Okay.
And then another point I think is just our local business versus how much business is outside of the region. A very small percentage is local. So that's one of the interesting challenges we have is being here, getting the word out, and getting a stronger culture of IT innovation in this area, so that folks are picking the right technologies, picking the right partners like us, and not choosing outside partners. And most of our projects here, I'd say more than half, are a result of failures where an outside firm did remote work or offshore work. And because we're not a recognized brand name, and they go with those guys, and
Right.
they end up having a mess on their hands. So it happens all the time.
So then you guys come in and
Clean things up.
yeah.
But it's like, let's just start it the right way to begin.
Right. Yeah. So you don't have to even clean it at all.
There's this idea that in the city of Sacramento, where I have to go with a big brand name, and if I don't, then it's not going to get done right. But in reality, it doesn't get done right.
Yeah.
So that's the point. That
Do you see that both public and private sector?
Yes.
Okay.
Both public and private.
That's
yeah.
interesting.
It's just one of those.
People want to go with the known versus
They
the
do.
unknown.
They do.
And there's probably some job security and some concern about that, which is a big issue.
That's a key point, but it's kind of like, at what point have you proven yourself? And I don't know, and that's where we're I'm out
You're
doing the
learning.
cheerleading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are two really good points.
Okay.
I think another good point is the experienced hires, right? So that's another area where we're not struggling, but I think we could do better. Where there's a lot of talent here, but they're so dug into their jobs and firms because they're not comfortable with the idea that Sacramento actually has a startup world, and they would love to do it, but they don't either know about it or they're too insecure, and they think that, like, man, if I leave this thing. So there's a lot of people sort of ready for someone like us,
Right.
and they don't want to take that leap just yet.
Yeah.
And so that's another, I think, interesting point is, as Sacramento grows and you have more firms move out here, then those opportunities arise. And so we need a stronger overall IT community ecosystem here, innovation ecosystem, where, like in Silicon Valley, you have that right now.
All right, welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. This is Mark Bellows, your host today, tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen in the Roseville office. My number, if you want to reach me there, 996-784-7800, or you can email me at mark.bellows@claconnect.com. Manvir.com. And today we're talking with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify. And you can get hold of Manvir at his phone number 408-839-8033 or Manvir at Zennify.com. Zennify. Zennify.com. The Zen feeling. So
You got it.
yeah. So one of the things we're talking about at the break, and then also kind of leading up to is you guys ultimately decided on Sacramento. So you've been kind of growing in Sacramento, and now you've moved into some new space.
Yes.
So take us through the whole process of how you looked for the various space and how you decided to select where you ended up going and all that.
You bet. It's been a cool experience. So we started at home. I actually I had this home office environment, makeshift closet that I kind of converted. And we had a gentleman, Sam Kerr, and he was kind of working from home. So, and that gets you by. But, clients want to meet, and you're kind of like,
right.
Oh yeah, we'll meet at your office. And they're like, no, we'll meet at your office. You're like, no, we'll come by.
Yeah.
We'll go to your house. So, at some point, you kind of need, a real-for-real address and a conference room. And so Sacramento's got some cool, co-working spaces,
Mm-hmm.
like the Urban Hive and Regis and various options that allow you to kind of move into a temporary space, share that space with other people. You have a conference room, and you can collaborate in that conference room, bring clients into that conference room. So we did that for a while.
Yeah, and we had Brandon on the show a couple weeks ago. Brandon.
Okay, yeah, he's great. They've done a great job.
Yeah, they really have.
They've got their new location as
Downtown,
well.
Yep.
Yeah, so those are very effective. But at some point, as you hire more people, and what I did is I really asked our people, what's important to you, because I had an image of what was important. I had an image of, being somewhere probably downtown or midtown, where you've got like cool eateries and cafes,
Right.
But actually, my guys or our folks were like, what's most important to us is parking. Parking and parking, right? And
downtown's not the best situation for parking.
Yeah, exactly. And it's getting better, but really folks want to get to work hassle-free, and then when they get to work, they want an office space that is comfortable. And so we found a great space over off Garden Highway.
Okay.
And it meets our needs perfectly right now. It probably scales to about 30 people.
How many do you have right now in this space?
We're at 10.
Is that how many you had going in?
No, we had 3 going in.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So you went in with 3, but you've grown to 10.
We've grown to 10
already since January.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we'll probably be at 20. And so I think we'll even outgrow this place.
I was going to say, how many people can this space handle?
I think you can get up to about 30 people before it gets a little tight in there, but so far it's been great, and we like the area. There's some interesting places to go and eat around there. It's got some character, so I think we're going to stick with that area.
So you guys talked about parking was important, so you kind of probably ruled out downtown generally, although sometimes you can get some parking in a certain space downtown. So where all did you look before you finally settled on Garden Highway?
So we looked, far and wide. We looked at Rancho, we looked at Fair Oaks, we looked at downtown, Midtown, West Sac, East Sac to some extent, Natomas area, and Roseville's actually where I live, and so we considered Roseville, Rockland, but I'm finding more of the talent and customer base is in the core of Sacramento.
Okay, yeah.
So Sacramento just felt like the right area, and then it was a matter of the right pocket. And that particular area is just easy to get in and out of. You got 80 and 5 there, and different ways to kind of get through all that if you don't want to take the highway.
So are you off of like El Camino or something, or what?
Yeah, it's like kind of Garden Highway and I-5 right there.
Okay.
So South Natomas Corporate Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much space did you guys take?
I want to say it's 3,200 square feet, and it's got a couple conference rooms. One of the rooms it's got enough space that one of the conference rooms we're kind of designating as the Zen room. It's like the play area. We haven't quite figured out exactly what we're going to do, but we're kicking around ideas like a pool table and a yoga ball and these kind of things. So it's nice just being able to have that option and get everybody's feedback as to how you want to do that.
And people want that kind of space.
So far, yeah. I mean, they're definitely just taking those little breaks, getting the edge off, and doing things a little unconventionally. I mean, the beauty is there's no rules. It's kind of like most important rule is being able to get our work done efficiently and being able to collaborate with each other. So what we do from there really is based on what the team thinks is the best way to go.
So how do you have the office set up? What you guys decide on? Do you have offices? Do you have big open space? And what's going to work out for you?
It's an open space,
Okay.
and it's interesting because our Boise office has more of the traditional private offices.
Okay.
And so, just based on the feedback I'm getting from both locations, I think the open space is the way to go. And people like it. You've got, a little bit of privacy with just the way that we've structured the individual workspaces. But for the most part, it's open, you can collaborate, and then most importantly, there's space. You have room. Developers, these guys are, hardcore. They're, amazing guys, and girls. They got 2 big monitors, and they just need that room to do what they need to do.
Right. So, so the open space, and does it get loud or what?
I know the only thing that we find that can be challenging is when there's phone conversations.
Yeah.
So the individual collaboration, talking to each other, is not an issue. But when you're on the phone, and especially if you're on the same call, and you kind of hear each other talk,
Yeah.
so we've set up these sort of, mini private offices in the conference room to handle those kind of conversations.
Yeah, that's good. And we have some open space at our office as well, but there are quiet areas where you can go and have phone conversations, that sort of thing. So you're not, because it does carry the sound.
It does.
Carry, so.
It does.
Yeah.
It can be distracting.
So you guys got the space. How long? You have a couple-year lease?
Yeah, so right now we'll go through, I think, the end of next year.
Okay.
But I think we need to make a decision by the end of this year as to, I have to sort of project what we're going to grow to. I think we'll get to 40, if not 50 here, in Sacramento. So I've got to sort of plan for that and figure out what we want to do. And this is where connecting to Barry Broom and his team at Greater Sacramento, they've helped us through the whole process, from finding the co-working options to a temporary office to the office we're in now. They connected us with Cushman in Wakefield.
Yep.
And there's a couple brokers there that have been amazing to work with to just be flexible for who we are, because that's the reality for our situation. Is it's hard for me to commit to something long term given the growth that we're hitting, because I don't know what things are going to look like in 2 years. So I need those flexible options, and those guys have been helping us. Very creative.
That's great. And we had Barry on the show earlier in the year, and so kind of a good conversation with him about all that's happening in Sacramento. And so that's good to see that you've been a part of that as well, which I know in the prior conversation we talked about that.
Yeah, I believe in what they're doing, and what they're doing is really important to us as well, because what they're trying to do, obviously they're trying to get companies to move here and drive growth here, but they're trying to sort of lift the brand and define the brand of Sacramento, and we know that a lot of the growth comes from technology. So we're collaborating together to sort of figure out, what things can we do. Like, we don't have, a proper trade show here, around technology, for example. There's some things that are going on, but we need more of that. We need more of a tech community, and we need people to think of Sacramento in an innovative way, right? So when you're talking, I was in New York last week. I was talking to, various partners and different kind of people that have really meaningful roles. And when you say Sacramento initially, you kind of get an interesting reaction. And it's kind of like Sacramento, Cowtown, state of California, government. It's like, and those things are fine, but we want folks to think about Sacramento, more broadly than just that, right?
Yeah, and that's been the rub for years with Sacramento. And so I know that there's been, so Barry and Barbara and Sacto and those guys before that were all trying to grow that brand, I guess, so get people to know about us more than that. So you said Sac State's got good talent, so have you hired graduates from there?
We have. I'd say half of our staff is from there, and we're working with Lorenzo Smith, the Dean of Computer Engineering, to just expand that out. We'd love to get to the point where they might even have curriculum, in their classrooms that's pertinent to what we do, so that we can do internships or folks can come out, kind of work ready on day one.
Yeah.
And they've been very open to that, and so those are all conversations that are happening. We're starting conversations with organizations like Hacker Lab, and even Los Rios, community colleges. The reality is that folks can, start to contribute very quickly with the work that we do. If they're, driven, and they have an engineering mentality, and they're tech savvy. They like to tinker and solve problems. At the end of the day, we are a problem-solving firm, right? And if you like to solve problems and you like technology, we're a great fit.
All right. Well, we're talking with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify, a firm based here in Sacramento. Well, with a big office here in Sacramento. I guess kind of based in Sacramento, Boise together, but really kind of a lot of growth here in Sacramento. Just recently moved in some space over on Garden Highway. You can get a hold of him at manvir@zennify.com. The phone number is 408-839-8033. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we get back, we'll finish up the day.
So tax season was intense this year with the change. Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
I manage all of it, so yeah, it was definitely intense. We have to actually go through an evaluation on whether it makes, because we're an LLC,
right,
and we're evaluating whether we should go to be a C Corp or not. Some of it's because of the tax stuff, but some of it is we don't have an easy mechanism now to bring on equity.
Investors.
Yeah, investors and equity
and
options.
see, that's why typically firms that have investor money.
Is your location near the Virgin Sturgeon?
Yes.
It's a great place. You ever been there, Mark?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been to Virgin Sturgeon. Oh yeah. Yeah. So what were we just saying? The tax. So, yeah. So I think that's why a lot of times you see companies that are bringing in investors or C corps. So now real estate investments sometimes you see LLC because you can do funky preferred return stuff, but with C corps, it makes a lot of sense. And we're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers. Mark Bellows here with my guest today, Manvir Sandhu with Zennify, and we were just talking about as you've grown, you've hired people from Sac State. They've got a good computing program, and it's getting better, it seems. And I know that when Barry was on the show, and we've had some other people as well talk about the importance of the continued talent that's coming out from local colleges, Sac State, and UC Davis. We also do experienced hires.
We do.
So tell us how does that work out for you, and are you able to find them locally, or do you have to look elsewhere?
So right now it's a mix. We have some folks coming from the Bay Area that are either ready to move back home, or the Bay Area's just become too expensive, and they've see the value of Sacramento in terms of just the work-life situation and the great schools and the outdoors and those things, and so that's a compelling story for us. So when Barry and his team do a lot of marketing. They've got some great videos, really pitching the city and the region.
Right.
I'm able to leverage a lot of those things and those assets to just give people the full picture of Sacramento, the restaurant scene, Golden One, the arena, Midtown, all these things that people just don't know enough about.
Now, there's this article here that was on selectsacramento.com about why you moved to Greater Sacramento on the West Coast. Was this you that was it?
Yes.
That interviewed this? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
So one of the things you said is the outdoors, the drive-in scene where I go see Kendrick Lamar, an incredible music event. Did you go see Kendrick Lamar?
We did,
okay.
Yeah, and others.
Yeah. And this was also, Pete Rock coming in February, like McCooney's and Harlow. So, there is a lot of great music in Sacramento, and there's going to be more and more.
Yes.
I think. And so that is a good scene. There's going to be a lot more nightlife. We had the Raymond James, who was on a couple weeks ago, is opening Fizz Bar downtown. You've got lots of other downtown stuff happening. So you're starting to see more and more in Sacramento, I think. And
absolutely, because that's what people feel like they're giving up when they're coming from the big cities.
San Francisco or LA,
So the more that we have those things going, and the arena has been great, and the more we can promote it. I think the key is to promote these things, and social media is a great way to promote it, because again, we're selling Sacramento. We need that talent pool from the Bay Area. Locally, it's interesting. It's a different. I know there's talent locally, experienced hires, but what I found is that it's hard to find them because they're not necessarily promoting themselves. They might be kind of dug in to their current firm, I think the perception out here, and I worked out here for a big firm for many years, and what can happen is it's not so much that you get comfortable, it's that you feel like there isn't necessarily other opportunities for you because you've come to a certain level, maybe income wise
Right.
or position wise in that firm. You may not even be happy at that firm, but you're kind of like, well, it's better than anything else around, and I don't really feel like I could take that risk, right? And that's something that I'm struggling with a little bit is like, well, there are startups out here, and there are other opportunities, and if you do make a move, it's not like you're jumping off the deep end. Now, if you're starting a company, it's a different story, but if you're just going to work for a smaller firm, that firm can be a great stable environment for you to grow as well. So those are things that we're, just struggling with figuring out, the right kind of tactics and methods and communications. Having the office itself is huge.
Right.
When you're trying to do this working out of your house,
it's harder to hire someone to get someone from another firm because they're like, well, what's my how am I going to grow with this? And
exactly.
So it's a little scary, I would imagine, for some. So.
It is.
Yeah.
So the office has been great, getting people into the office. And the other interesting thing is a lot of people work from home in Sacramento,
right.
Because they're working with companies in the Bay Area. So that's another interesting, paradigm shift for folks. It's like I've been working from home for so long, I've actually gotten accustomed to it, gotten comfortable. And now there's this local company that has an office, and they want me to come into the office. And it's kind of like, and you're getting folks that are like, ooh, office, it's like it's this alien environment. It's like,
right.
well, this is what people do, right? They go in offices.
Yeah.
So that's interesting as well.
Do you guys have an option for people to work at home if they like?
We do. It's more of a, I'd say, a convenience thing. So, you've got an early morning meeting that goes long, or, you got to do something with the kids, dad's out of town, mom's got to stay home, for that week and do the kid drop-off thing. So it's more of a flexibility thing versus, a full-blown home office. When we're here in SAC, it really doesn't make sense that you'd have a home office,
right,
100%, and not come into the office because there's a ton of collaboration and value.
I was going to say there's a lot of value for you guys in the collaboration, and you're missing it if someone's working from home. So.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like the technology behind working from home has gotten so good between, Skype and WebEx and GoToMeeting and all these things and it's a good thing, is that those things are working for people. But what people lose is that face-to-face, and you just can't emulate that, right?
Yeah. So a lot of your clients are not local. Is that correct?
Correct.
So how have you found? How do you guys get the clients? Is it through word of mouth? Is it referral? Is it to advertise or get out to trade shows or what? Or some combination?
So the local business
and non-local. Yeah.
So the non-local, a lot of it is referral based. So
Okay.
because we're doing a lot in financial services and we have some flagship clients and some successes, what'll happen is the word will just spread. Like, wow, these guys have built a great solution for wealth management, for example, and then those industries just kind of know each other. CIOs know and they talk,
Sure.
and so, we get brought into business that way. We've got a lot of business out in Kansas and Texas, up in the Northwest is building, Denver's building. So, roughly probably 90% of our business is outside of this area. And in California, of course, the Bay Area and Southern California is growing fast.
So about 90% of your business is outside the area.
Correct.
And 10% is here locally.
Correct.
So the stuff that's outside, do you tend to go visit them a lot, or is a lot of it done over the various Skype or WebEx? Or
It's a mix. The way consulting engagements work is that there is key times when you want to meet face to face, and you want to talk. And early in the project, and then definitely towards the end of the project, and during strategic planning sessions, there's definitely some travel. So I have folks here; they're traveling a decent amount, 25%.
Okay.
No one probably higher than 25, but definitely, it's nice being in Sacramento with the airport and the way it's expanded. So that also makes things convenient for us being here in Sac. Boise's a little tougher to get kind of in and out of. So that's one of the strategic advantages of being here in Sacramento, and the Bay Area is close as well in terms of doing a day trip to the Bay to meet a client and coming back.
Sure.
But I would like to win more business locally. It's just, it's been a little tricky, because you've got the public sector, and that's kind of its own world.
Right.
We haven't had a challenge there as much. It's really with the private sector. It's kind of hard to get your arms around Sacramento. There's not really a common profile. There's it's a hodgepodge of different companies. There's not a ton of companies that are large. Let's say, mid-market enterprise companies that are headquartered here. You might have like an Intel or an HP, but their headquarters are actually in the Bay Area.
Right.
So they're not decision-making organizations.
Yes.
So it's been a little tricky.
Yeah, I bet it has. So,
for example, one of the things that we deal with that is interesting is like when I look at my local business, I'd say half of it are engagements where some other partner, competitor of ours that isn't based here, that with remote resources or offshore resources has probably not done a very good job. And that client went with that company because they're a known entity, a known brand name.
Yeah.
And they may choose them over us because they're not familiar with us and we're newer, so they don't want to take that risk. But coincidentally, half of my business are failed implementations where those implementations haven't gone well because it is tough to do them completely remote, and people don't put their A-team players on a Sacramento-based project.
Right.
So we'll come in and sort of sort things out and get them back on track and get them going. So my challenge and our challenge really is, well, why don't you choose Zennify to begin with? We have a local team. We're the only local provider of the solution and services. I don't see why it would make sense to go with somebody based out of San Francisco or LA or Chicago.
But the challenge, like you said, is that people are used to hearing, or they think, I got to go with the known name or the bigger company or whatnot.
Correct. So that's our opportunity.
Yeah, that is an opportunity, and I think sometimes there's a tendency to respond to that by offering a lower price or something like that, and that's not always the right answer either.
It's not, yeah.
Because what you do has value, and so
correct.
You need to be compensated for that value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's getting the name out, and
yes.
I think the more as you guys continue to grow, certainly the name's going to get out there. As you continue to have successes in the projects you do. How many? Real quick, we've got about another minute. But how many of the projects have you done lately that have been the mop up?
The mop up
or the cleanup for someone else?
We have a couple going, and they're ongoing because you've kind of got an old guard. What happens, unfortunately, sometimes is people have a lot of pride and they don't want to acknowledge that maybe they made the wrong decision with that company.
Well, there could be a lot of political ramifications within any organization for that. So yeah, you do have to figure out a way, which gets into your sales pitch. I mean, you have to figure out a way to help them sell it to their boss or their board or whatever, why they're making the change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And so you have to be able to work that relationship with those folks to make them feel like, look, just because this organization brought me in, it doesn't mean that I'm not serving you as well, right? I'm your partner across the board here, right?
We're good. We've been talking with Manvir Sandhu of Zennify. His number 408-839-8033, and you can email him at manvir@zennify.com, Zennify.com. Manvir, thanks for being on the show today. Good luck and continued success. I'm sure we'll have you back on soon.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. That's a wrap?
That's a wrap.
Cool. Yeah, there's this, for example, there's